Hello guys, today is Wednesday. I have the privilege to invite Michael Cranston to come here. Michael used to work for ATO. What did you do in ATO before, Michael?
Well, John, thanks for inviting me here today. But I spent 40 years in the ATO,
Oh,
and probably in the last 8 to 10 years, I was at a deputy commissioner level, and I looked
good.
after a lot of the private businesses and a
Excellent.
lot of the aggressive areas of the ATO.
You're very experienced.
Very experienced,
Do,
yes.
do you know when I graduate, I tried to sit for the entrance exam for ATO. I failed.
I'm sure you'll be good now.
I didn't get in. So I heard ATO got this enormous power.
Yeah, ATO, they've got great responsibility as well to use those powers, but they have got, and one of them is basically the ATO doesn't have to prove that something's wrong. You've got to prove that you're right, which is very different. And so you've got to be very careful about evidence and information you keep in your tax affairs.
Oh, so they can allege you do something wrong. They don't have to prove the evidence. You have to provide the evidence to
Yeah,
prove that you're
That's
innocent.
right.
Oh.
Well, currently I'm a partner in Waterhouse Lawyers,
Ah,
and we have had a lot of clients come to us who had money sent back to them from their parents from overseas.
overseas income.
Well, the ATO has said they think it's overseas income,
Exactly.
and they will assess them on that overseas income, and some of it was inheritance from family members, and they sometimes haven't kept the evidence, and so therefore it's very important to keep evidence.
Exactly. So ATO, because at the moment with a common reporting standard, ATO, the Australian government and all the 42 other countries, they can share this banking data. Very important. So in your tax order, what should we do, Michael?
Well, tax audits, I mean, firstly, I think everybody gets, some people get really scared, or some people don't do anything about it.
Exactly.
I think they're both wrong.
Oh,
I think you got to remember, an ATO audit is generally the ATO has a hypothesis, or they're concerned about something, and they're just going to make some inquiries about it. But it's very important to get on the front foot and work with the auditor team. Make sure you get the right advice, and we do advice. Accountant firms do advice, but sometimes it's good to come to a law firm to help them through an audit, because we can show them what they need to do. We can review what they've done, and if they've done something wrong, if you talk to the auditor up front, you can offer a voluntary disclosure.
yes. Voluntary disclosure is very
Very good, and you often don't get a penalty if you do that. So that's important. I think the other thing, if you come to a law firm, you can have open discussions with us, and that's legal professional privilege,
Yes.
and we don't have to share that with the ATO.
I saw in the movie a lot about legal professional privilege. The lawyer said, I have legal professional privilege.
Yes,
Very important.
yeah, and it's important because what it does, it opens up a conversation between the lawyer and the client, and there's open dialogue, and then the lawyer can try and convince the client to do the right thing. So that's why it's important. The other thing too, if you come to a law firm, you can get a tax advice even before an audit comes on some complex or situations which are not quite 100%.
Yes.
And if you get that advice and the ATO do an audit and disagree, often you won't be subject to penalties because it's called a reasonable arguable position.
What kind of penalty does ATO have normally?
Well, if there's no reasonable care, that's about, the penalty can be 25%.
Shortfall tax penalty, 25%. Yeah.
And if it's reckless, it's 50%.
Well, so if the shortfall is 10,000, that's another 5,000 you have to pay.
That's right. And reckless is generally making a statement, not really believing in the truth. But then the worst penalty is intentional disregard.
Oh.
And that's when you know you're doing the wrong thing, and the ATO says you knew what you were doing is wrong. That's 75%.
And sometimes they can cross the border, because I was told ATO also have a criminal prosecution power.
They do. They can actually conduct criminal investigations, and so if you've made a false statement, they can either try and convict you under the Tax Administration Act or under the Criminal Code. So it can be quite scary, but that's generally not common.
Thank you, Michael.
Well,
I would like to share this with the Chinese public, WeChat and Facebook.
Okay.
I hope they will like your video.
Okay. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you, Michael. All right, good.